In a world gripped by environmental crises, the call for urgent, impactful action resonates profoundly. As we approach the 2030 deadline for the Sustainable Development Goals, urgency intensifies to realign human aspirations with the planet's fragile balance. In the race against environmental challenges, the call to action resonated loudly in 2021 with the inception of Sustainability100+, a visionary initiative crafted by Network 18 and AB InBev to carve out a sustainable future for generations to come. A platform that brings together visionaries and experts globally. Their collective wisdom serves to shed light on India's progress towards its sustainable development goals. The inaugural season sparked a nationwide call to shape a better world, uniting communities for Sustainability 100+. Season 1 brought forth new ideas and initiatives to help India achieve its sustainability challenges over the next century. With insightful state summits, engaging masterclasses, and numerous video features, the platform turned the spotlight on the work of innovators who strive to embed sustainability in the Indian way of life. Culminating in the groundbreaking Sustainability 100+ Summit, leaders like Sonam Wangchuk discussed the imperative to rethink our impact on the planet, paving the way for corporate environmental stewardship. The Sustainability 100+ Summit brought together a diverse array of corporate leaders to share their ideas on how corporations can be better stewards of the government and how corporates can lead the way towards SDGs. A pivotal moment arrived in Season 2 with the first ever Sustainability 100+ Awards, celebrating NGOs, startups and corporates that impressed the distinguished jury with innovative solutions for climate action, water stewardship, smart agriculture and circular packaging. Notable winners included Infosys Technologies, Make My Trip Foundation and Sankalp Taru Foundation, each recognized for their exceptional contributions to sustainability. As we continue to navigate the enduring challenges of reducing our carbon footprint and responsibly sourcing key commodities, we return with a focused resolve. Act for impact. Join us on a journey of revolutionizing the future as we amplify transformative stories, reveal groundbreaking ideas, and strengthen our resolve to inspire the world. Sustainability 100+ Season 3. Act for Impact.
Hello and welcome to CNBC TV 18. I'm Shireen Bhan. We're coming to you from Davos 2024, and a lot of the conversation here continues to be focused on climate change and of course what the world needs to do to step up its efforts to ensure that we meet the targets and the goals that have been set out. So this is only appropriate for us to launch Sustainability 100+ Season 3 here, because we do need to act for impact. And joining me here in Davos is Karthikeya and Arunabha. Arunabha, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Karthikeya, 3 years, 3 seasons of Sustainability 100+, and I said it's only appropriate that we launch this here, given the fact that climate continues to be front and center of the conversations at Davos.
Yeah, so first things first, we seem to be changing it up. We went from Zoom to the studio, and now here in beautiful Davos, slightly warm.
Can't accuse us of not adapting.
No, we're adapting and evolving, but no, it's amazing to think about the journey we've been on. Year 3, it seems like yesterday that we kicked this off at Network 18. And I think we're raising the bar every year. I could not be more excited about how we've dovetailed the mission and objectives of these dialogues with everything that's happening here in Davos. And it's only therefore appropriate that we're launching the 3rd edition here. We're excited about going to Karnataka again, which is happening in a few months, and then of course culminating in Bombay. I think with the results we've seen in the last 2 years, what you said about acting for impact, That's become an even bigger mantra for the team over at AB InBev. We got to be more action-oriented, and we're quite excited about what Season 3 might do to facilitate that action orientation.
Karthikeya, for the benefit of Arunabha as well as all of our other viewers, let's just give them a sense of what has been accomplished in the last 2 seasons and what we're now aiming for.
Yeah, so I'd say front and center collaboration, the idea of bringing together multiple partners, both, public as well as private, building a sense of common purpose and a sense of urgency, I would say, is the other one. I'm quite excited about what we saw happen last year with the Sustainability Awards. This was in Delhi, and the enthusiasm with particularly the private sector to stand up and showcase the work they've done was indeed what we had set out to do, which is offer an opportunity for amazing innovation to come through, beautiful insights, but most importantly, the spirit of partnership. And as we think through, and specifically talking about what we've been able to achieve as AB InBev, I think is being able to tap into the wonderful ecosystem that exists of like-minded partners, partners who've been able to drive climate action forward. Our efforts on circular packaging, our efforts, I think most that we've been proud of has been on the agro side. And when we think about what we've been able to do to have a connected, a skilled, and a financially empowered base of farmers, we started off with less than 100 farmers in what we called our agro mission, part of our SDG goals. Today we have over 2,000 fully skilled, connected, and financially empowered farmers. 25 is not too far away. So in 2015, we set off with some goals for the next 10 years. We aim to have 5,000 farmers on the connected, skilled, and 100% financially empowered program. And we feel quite confident that this is snowballing, no pun intended, with everything around us. This is snowballing into something very special.
Yeah, well, Arunabha, let me get you to comment on what the big takeaways here from Davos. We're, of course, coming into Davos after COP28. And while we can argue about the gains that were made and whether we actually have seen the needle change or move on the ground, what's your big takeaway?
For me, the biggest takeaway, Shireen, is that we are now moving very much into the action mode. For the longest time, we come to climate negotiations, and it's all about ambition, and that's good. But then you come back every year and say, what have you actually done?
Yeah.
The question you just asked. So I'm seeing a lot more conversation here in Davos, and I would expect through the year, on what are those nuts and bolts that we need to solve for getting action on the ground and then accelerating that. So it's that move from ambition to action to acceleration. Let me just give some examples. Last year, we had $2.8 trillion invested across the world in clean energy. $1 trillion was fossil fuel. $1.8 trillion was clean energy. What we managed to do with clean energy investments is that the global clean energy infrastructure went up by 50% in 1 year.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, in emerging markets, the investments remain reasonably flat, excluding China.
Yeah.
So for me, a big issue here is how do we get the trillions of dollars to start flowing into the global south, where this infrastructure is going to get built out. The second thing that I'm seeing a lot, if you walk up and down the street, is AI.
Yeah.
I'm joking in the morning, if you're selling pancakes and you say pancakes.ai, you'll sell more pancakes. But jokes aside, really, it's the convergence of the digitalization story and the decarbonization story, which is offering opportunity on designing new markets, getting the product innovation done much faster, getting the deployment done faster, optimizing for the use of resources much better. That's going to be another major area. And the final bit is going to be around circularity.
Yeah.
Whether it's water, whether it's plastics, whether it's materials, minerals, this is going to drive the next growth surge for sustainability. And I think some of those conversations are beginning here.
Yeah, so Karthikeya, let's just pick up on where Arunabha left off and, the experience that AB InBev has had in India, but more importantly also what you are bringing in from the global experience in terms of being able to incubate those ideas or perhaps pilot ideas in India and take them global.
Yeah, so I think speaking of, let's pick up on the circular packaging piece. We're always looking for ideas, and in the global network that AB InBev has, we've also started to look at our ideas meshing quite seamlessly with what we're calling the sustainability of the ecosystem that actually depends on the value that we unlock. Case in point being the opportunity of involving more people in many LATAM countries with collection of the possibility of those recycled bottles. So suddenly you're creating an ecosystem. We have that in India.
Yeah.
But when we look at how much we actually measure the value of people involved with that ecosystem, I think there's a lot that we could be learning. And we're developing that as we go along. Our recycled content in our bottles, the total amount of bottles that actually come back, to your point, while we set out the ambition, now we're focused more on action. I love that AAA outlook that you gave. And we had a very large ambition that we'd like to see, particularly for manufacturers who are using glass and aluminium. We should be aiming for much higher numbers in terms of recycling, and we're encouraged by what we're seeing. As far as what we've been able to take to the rest of the world, I think I probably cite the agro program again. When you think about where the agrarian ecosystem exists today, and to your point on using technology and everything we've been seeing up and down the promenade here, we take a great deal of pride on what we've been able to bring through in terms of giving more and more insights, soil quality, all kinds of crop and crop cycle experiences on what would be the best time. And I think using more and more technology, I don't think we've even scratched the surface, but using more technology to be able to bring to Indian farmers the kind of insights that can enable them to grow the kind of barley that could come in handy for our own products. We're not proud about the fact that, we have the kind of ecosystem that at this point isn't fully maximized for what can go into the AB InBev product portfolio. We still end up importing a lot of barley, and we've set ourselves a very ambitious goal that we hope to act on. That we utilize more and more our farmer base and localize our barley source. So I think the time is not too far that you look at water as an example. The amount of recharging we're doing in India, mindful of course of the very low water body we have in India, is another example that could travel very well across a lot of African nations. So proud of what we're bringing in, but equally proud of what we're sending out.
Yeah, Arnab, just to pick up on what Karthikeya said there, and energy, of course, is one aspect, but when we talk about water, for instance, I mean, these are all challenges. Health linked to climate and the transition that we're seeing there as well.
Absolutely.
And you can't address these in silos.
You can't. This is a nexus story. Let's just take water for a second, right? India consumes more groundwater than China and the United States combined. So when we are looking at agricultural growth and value addition on ag crops, then looking at water that's available for power and industry, then looking at the fastest urbanizing country in the world, we've got to get far more optimized with how we're looking at water, right? And that's just not an environmental issue. It is an economic driver. To give you an example, we treat less than 40% of our wastewater, right? But even just that limited amount, if we used a circular economy model and used it, say, for horticulture, you would add another 966 billion rupees, or about $12 billion, to our horticulture value addition, right? So it's not just about treating the water, because that's a capex. It's about the circular economy of that resource. And then when you talk about health, this year at COP was the first health day.
Health day, right?
Air pollution is killing 7 to 8 million people across the world, right? We've been breathing that air even in Delhi. Right? So the point is, how do we align climate action, which is about clean energy, clean mobility, clean industrialization, and look at the co-benefits that you get on better health, better educational outcomes, better worker productivity. So again, clean air is not just an environmental issue, it becomes an economic asset to drive better economic growth. In the BRICS countries, you're increasingly seeing that FDI goes down as your AQI goes up. So we've got to ask ourselves, if we want to attract investment, if we want to drive new growth and new sustainable jobs, then climate, clean energy, water, air, none of this is just a tree-hugging agenda. It is at the heart of our economic development strategy.
Oh, absolutely. Karthikeya, on the point of partnerships and collaboration and the ecosystem that you were speaking of, I also wanted to understand from you where the ambition lies now in terms of expanding the ecosystem, more partnerships with more state governments, what the experience has been on that front.
Well, so over the last 3 days, first year here at Davos, the one thing I've been terribly excited with is just about every meeting starting with what we could be doing more for the community in terms of livelihood, in terms of sustainability actions, and almost ending with, so what do we do next? I know it all sounds still like a lot of hokey pokey because we're talking, not acting. But I do think this change in discourse that is focusing on not just the output, but how sustainable that output is and whether that's in sync with the community actually thriving as we go forward, has been very encouraging. As I think about states, I couldn't think of one state that hadn't put this on the top of their agenda. This morning, as I was sharing earlier, we had a panel discussion and we had the industries minister from Karnataka who spoke about a very interesting fact, and I'd like to cite it here. He's from Bijapur, and he said the forest cover in Karnataka at an average, and many other states of a similar size, is about 30%. And he got somebody from his team to go out there and give the forest cover for Bijapur, and he found out it's 0.17%. And so you have this gentleman sitting on a panel talking about, what we could be doing to further economic activity. And the entire pivot on the panel was towards how he went and set his team an ambition that he'd at least like to get it to 30% and then some more. And I think they planted about a 1.5 million trees or something with a marathon to go with it. And for me, this was, absolutely music to my ears. We would start and stop at economic activity, but we're starting to realize that there's not going to be much to keep sustaining this with if we're not going to be thinking about our community. So I'm excited with how many states are coming through. On your topic of partnerships, I think we've got an amazing opportunity with the startup community that was already thriving.
Yeah.
How we continue to tap into them, how we continue to energize that ecosystem to start thinking solutions, more technology-based solutions at it, I think would be the interesting part of season 3. We have to go a little deeper than the surface, because I do think there are a lot of opportunities of where technology can aid the acceleration of the action we're talking about.
Arnaba, so, to answer Kartike's question of what next, and let's address that issue from a prioritization point of view. One of the challenges that the world faces today, because of the macroeconomic headwinds, puts a question mark on the financing needs that you spoke of. On the other hand, there are, of course, low-cost innovations, but then how do you do that at scale and commercialize it and so on and so forth? So, where do you believe the gaps need to be bridged? There's a whole long list. What do we prioritize?
Well, one word: coordination. We often talk about we got to collaborate and cooperate, but we are not coordinating. And why do I say this? Let's look at the cost of finance for sustainable investments. If the investments happen to happen in the global south, the cost of finance is high, not because the projects are inherently more risky. It's the same solar panel in China, in the United States, and in India. The cost of finance is high because their macroeconomic risks are not under your control, right? So if the US Fed raises interest rates, then a dollar-denominated debt for an emerging market investor goes up. So we need coordination across central bank governors. In the late 90s, they came together to create the G20 because there was a global financial crisis. In 2008, the leaders' part came again because there was a financial crisis. We've got a planetary level crisis, so we need the central bank governors to coordinate on interest rates so that the macroeconomic consequences of it can be handled a little bit better. Another area to coordinate is supply chains. So we can have all the ambition, but imagine every hour India has to deploy 11 to 12 megawatts of clean energy. Now, for the next decade, for every hour, right through to 2030. So do we have the supply chains in place where from the minerals to the processing of the minerals and manufacturing the components, the final product, the deployment, that it's all flowing in sync with the ambition? That requires coordination across geographies to make sure the product gets delivered on time. Otherwise, disruptions are bad for business and bad for the planet. And the final thing, you need coordination across regulatory jurisdictions. India has the second largest green hydrogen mission in the world. The US is the largest. Europe has a big one. If we all have different rules, then we don't create a global market for something like green hydrogen. So coordination across the regulatory architecture that we design then helps for the carbon trading that can happen across geographies. So this is not just about, holding hands and singing Kumbaya. It's really understanding that if we can solve some of these critical, knotty problems, then a lot of the investments can begin to flow in the normal scheme of things.
So, Kartik, let me end by asking you what the priorities are going to be, not just for the campaign, but for AB InBev in 2024.
So we're 2 years away from our 2025 ambitions that we had set out. I think on agro, I feel very confident that we're going to have our goal of 5,000 fully skilled, empowered, financially empowered farmers. As far as our circular packaging goals are concerned, I think we're making good headwind. We're a little concerned about the quantity of recycled content within our bottles and aluminium can. But always good to start here and, push through. With 24 still in the very early stages. We have 2 years and we're confident we'll make our ambitions come through. On water stewardship, I think it stands out along with agro as something we're very proud of. We set ourselves to not be at the industry standard of recharging 1 liter of water based on what we're using. But we have an ambition to get to 2 times the water that we're actually using, beer, of course, being almost entirely water. And so we take an even bigger obligation towards that higher ambition. As far as climate is concerned, and this is renewables, I resonate with what you're saying. I mean, we all want to get to carbon neutrality on our ecosystem. We've set a 2040 goal on the entire value chain to see that ambition come to life. But you do have supply chain challenges where sometimes it almost feels like there's a cost to be paid to go green. And this is something that I think, if it's tackled, again, I like the point you made on coordination. I think it could enable an acceleration of many organizations, particularly on the manufacturing side, picking up speed. On the objectives for this year, at the cost of sounding like a broken record, I think the name of the game has to be coordination, of course, but the spirit of partnership, removing people out of the equation and thinking about what the big idea over here is. And I do think there is so much more that is on the table, not just on the more cliched public-private side, but I also think bringing more innovation and technology into the equation with a lot of the startups in particular could really be something that we look out for. So excited about what we do at the finale. I know it's a little while away, but looking at many more startups winning awards, in addition to the larger, more expected corporations coming through with their size playing a role. Yeah, so that's at least the objective for me.
Plenty more that you will see here on Network 18 as season 3 unfolds. So do join Act for Impact. That's the hashtag Sustainability100 plus. Arunabha and Karthikeya, thanks very much for joining us. It's been absolutely brilliant to speak to the two of you here in Davos as we kickstart our season 3 journey. From all of us here, for now, thanks very much for watching. Get ready for a groundbreaking season on Sustainability100 Plus, an initiative by Network 18 and AB InBev India.
Act for Impact is our rallying cry as we unveil Season 3.
Sustainability100 Plus Season 3 will continue to focus on 4 pivotal pillars:
climate action, smart agriculture,
Water Stewardship and circular packaging.
and let's not forget the heart of it all, the Sustainability100 Plus Awards.
Where trailblazers and disruptors shaping our future against these pillars are honored.
Calling upon innovators. Submit your entries at www.sustainability100plus.com for an opportunity to contribute to a sustainable future.
Join us as we pave the way towards a sustainable future.
Act for Impact with Sustainability100 Plus Season 3.